All right, let's talk about workplace safety. We're going to connect the dots between the big picture strategies, the gear that literally saves your skin, and a really simple organizational system. You'll see how they all lock together to stop accidents before they can even get started. So here's our game plan. First, we'll get real about the cost of hazards. Then we'll dive into personal protective equipment, your last line of defense, and, just as important, how to actually use it right. From there, we'll switch gears to the 5S system, which is all about being proactive. And finally, we'll bring it all home by talking about what it really means to build a safety culture. So, let's get right to it. Why does all this matter so much? Well, before we can even begin to talk about rules and gear, we have to understand what's at stake. We need to look at what happens when safety gets pushed to the side. Let me ask you a question. Just think about it for a second. In your own workplace, what happens when someone spots a potential danger? A small puddle on the floor, a misplaced box, a cable that's a little frayed, but nobody says anything. Well, here's what can happen. Back in 2019, a fuel container was left sitting next to some welding equipment. People saw it, they knew it wasn't right, but no one reported it. And that silence, it led to a fire. A worker got severe, life-altering burns. See, this isn't some abstract statistic. It's the real human price of not acting. That fuel container, that is the textbook definition of a workplace hazard. It's any source of potential harm. And that's the key word right there, potential. It means the accident hasn't happened yet. It means we have a window, a chance, to do something about it. And that's exactly where OSH, Occupational Safety and Health, comes in. This is the entire system built to stop stories like that fire in Guyana from ever happening. It's not about a bunch of random rules. It's a smart, systematic way to find, evaluate, and control those hazards we just talked about. Okay, but even with the best plans in the world, you can't always engineer away every single risk. And that's when we turn to our personal shield, personal protective equipment, or as we all know it, PPE. You hear this phrase all the time, last line of defense. But what does it actually mean? It means our number one goal should always be to get rid of the hazard completely. But when that's just not possible, PPE is the crucial barrier that stands between a person and harm. So how do you pick the right gear? Well, it's pretty logical. You match the protection to the specific threat. If something could fall on your head, you wear a hard hat. If it's noisy, you use ear protection. If debris could fly into your eyes, you wear safety goggles. The main takeaway here is that PPE is not one size fits all. You have to know the specific risk to choose the right shield. But here's the thing. Just having the right PPE is only half the battle. If you don't wear it correctly or if you don't take care of it, it's basically useless. It just gives you a false sense of security. So let's talk about really mastering your equipment. Let's take a simple safety helmet. It's not just a matter of plopping it on your head. First, you gotta check the webbing inside. That's the suspension system, and it's what actually absorbs an impact. Make sure the headband is clipped in right. Then adjust everything so it fits your head. You want it snug but comfortable. And if you're working up high or in the wind, that chin strap is absolutely non-negotiable. And believe it or not, before you even touch certain types of gear like a respirator or a mask, the whole process starts right here, with clean hands. It seems so basic, but it stops you from getting germs or chemicals on the very thing that's supposed to be protecting you. Right, so after you've washed your hands, get the strap secure. Now this next part is critical. Take that little metal piece and press it firmly over the bridge of your nose to get a tight seal. Then you have to do a seal check. Breathe in and out sharply. If you feel air leaking out the sides, it's not on right. Readjust it. A bad seal means bad protection, period. And listen, your gear is only as good as the condition it's in. That means you need to give it a quick look over for any cracks or tears before every single use. And, probably the most important rule of all, if your gear takes a hit or gets damaged in any way, its protective abilities are shot. You have to replace it immediately. Okay, so we've covered our personal gear, that last line of defense. But what if we could design our workspaces to be safer from the very start? We can. It's about shifting from being reactive to being proactive. And that's where the 5S system comes in. So 5S is this brilliant workplace organization method that started in Japan. And yeah, it's famous for making things more efficient, but honestly, its real superpower is in how it creates a clean, organized, and just fundamentally safer place to work, right from the ground up. The first step is sort. This is pretty simple. You go through your area and get rid of anything that you don't absolutely need to do your job. Think about it. Less clutter means fewer things to trip over, fewer things that can fall, and a much clearer view of any potential dangers.
Next up is set in order. You've heard the saying, a place for everything and everything in its place. This is that principle in action. And let's go back to that fire in Guyana for a second. That was a total failure of this step. If that fuel container had a designated, safe place to be stored, the whole disaster could have been avoided.
The third S is shine, and this is where your mindset has to shift. This isn't just about sweeping the floor. It's about inspection. When you're wiping down a machine, you're not just cleaning, you're looking for a small leak. When you're tidying up a corner, you're spotting that frayed cable. Cleaning is inspection. So you've sorted, you've set things in order, you've shined. How do you make it stick? That is what standardize is for. This is where you create simple, clear rules and procedures so that everyone does things the same way, every time. It could be a checklist, a color-coding system, whatever it takes to turn a one-time effort into a consistent habit. And finally, we have sustain. This might be the most important and the most difficult step of all. This is about building the self-discipline to keep the standards up, day in and day out, until it becomes second nature. It's not something you have to do anymore, it's just the way things are done here. This is how you build a real safety culture. And that last S, sustain, leads us perfectly into our final point. This is all about moving beyond just following a system and truly adopting a safety mindset in everything you do. In fact, a lot of organizations have taken this a step further and now talk about 6S. They add a sixth S specifically for safety. And this isn't just for show, it's a really powerful statement. It means safety isn't just a nice side effect of being organized. It's the main goal of the entire system. It puts safety front and center. So let's bring all this back home, back to you. After all this, from understanding hazards to using your gear the right way to organizing your space, I want to leave you with one final question. What is one small, simple thing you can do today to make your own workspace a little bit safer? Because that's how a true safety culture is built, one person and one small change at a time.